Conversation coordinating for regional transformation was really our attempt to start to uplift many of the groups and intermediaries that are working in this space in this moment and really thinking about how we unlock the federal resources. I'm excited because when I started to think about the who and how we start to really think about the mobilizing efforts, we have been in partnership with several of these folks in different ways. This conversation, I'm gonna, to my left is Alex Easdale, introduce everyone from the Southeast Climate and Energy Network. Sen is also a partner for this regional convening, and should everything go what we are hoping for, they may be part of the Grant Makers program and really thinking about how we support this regranting of the resources that are flowing. Alex and his network has really been working on both coordinating more regionally, and we wanted to have more of a regional conversation for this plenary. Next, we actually have Genny, and Genny's with this Southern Economic Advancement Project, but more importantly, SEEP over the last 2.5 years really was one of the first groups out the gate, and particularly in organizing in the South around the ARPA funding. They worked very closely with Treasury in helping to really think through the guidance, the language that needed to be part of it. I want to hold one component that was critical about how Treasury came out the gate for the guidance. They had only asked for 4 questions from every state, and 2 of them was essentially around what is your vision to ensure the equitable implementation of the money that you all are advancing, and what are the plans that you have in place to do outreach to community. And those 2 questions allowed for every state to be accountable for how they were making their federal flow of ARPA actually ensure that community was part of it. And we just thought it was such a good model. And what was interesting, and I know that folks have some feedback about whether they felt like they actually received the ARPA funding. What was interesting was that by the time we got to the fall and the infrastructure money, the bipartisan infrastructure law money started to flow, there was no questions around how we were centering community, what it means for implementation. And so it's just very interesting to think that in a matter of 6 months, where we were organizing across several key issues, things kind of reverted back. So to Christopher's point when we opened, we can't take this for granted, and it's going to be important for us to really uplift the things that we feel like are working. And then we're excited to have Natalie Roper. The Just Transition Fund is a sister fund to us in many ways, but we also wanted to unpack kind of the funds and how they've been working. The work that the Just Transition Fund has been doing has been funding folks, particularly in Appalachia, but really thinking about what a just transition could look like over the last few years. And when we started to work as Communities First, we looked to them to really have a conversation about what it means to really organize both in the South, but also to think about this moment. So just really excited to have this conversation, more of this regional conversation about how we meet this moment. So Alex, I'm gonna turn it over to you to maybe talk a little bit more about SEN, how you all are thinking about this moment and the opportunities that you see for regional transformation, and holding the panel that Helen led, greater collaboration.
Yeah, can y'all hear me? All right, all right. Well, I'm going to be brief. I understand it's been a long but awesome day, and that we are what stands between you and a cocktail. So, um, so we're the Southeast Climate and Energy Network. We've been around since 2008. Actually, we became a project of the U.S. Climate Action Network, which is a national climate change environmental network with nearly 200 member organizations. And SEN came about because of the Markey-Waxman bill, which failed eventually, I believe, in the Senate. Groups that were part of the national network decided that we have a lack of organization in the Southeast. So basically a network within a network kind of came about, and it was an informal network that centered conversations around clean energy primarily. So environmental justice, climate justice were not issues that were treated within SEN until I came on board. I came on in 2016, and SEN was mainly focused on the Clean Power Plan. So, and it was a network of about 150 organizations, but that wasn't really a real number because it was just a listserv and some information sharing had happened. Some convenience have happened, but beyond that, basically, it wasn't organized and it lacked a little bit of infrastructure. So I came in from outside of the climate movement and kind of brought something else into it. And I was smart enough to understand that we needed some really smart people to kind of come together. So we created a revamped steering committee. A couple of those people that joined that steering committee here today, including our now Deputy Director, Amy Adams there, and Connie Leeper from NC Warren as well, who I believe is still here. And that steering committee kind of became our initial founding board of directors. So in 2018, we decided to become an independent network with the blessing of USCAN, and we started with 28 organizations. I remember I called all 150 member organizations then. Most of them didn't respond to me. 28 came on board. We had one grant, the Mertz Gilmore Foundation, and it wasn't enough to cover my salary. So that was 5 years ago. Fast forward now, we have 6 multi-year grants. We got funding from the federal government from NOAA last year for a small pilot project in rural communities in the South. And we've got some major individual donors as well. And hopefully pretty soon we're gonna get this awesome grant-making grant. I'm hoping and praying. So any case, our network is now over 80 organizations. Of those 80-something, it's 82. Over 60% are groups that are less $350,000 budgets a year. Okay, so what we've done is a lot of that money that we've received from these general grants, and they're mostly general operations funding, we've re-granted them to these smaller organizations for capacity building, so I heard that word a lot. We've re-granted for storytelling projects through a Film in the Field series of grants with a group called Exposure Labs. In fact, we funded 5 groups, 2 of which are in North Carolina, to create their own documentaries, and those are almost ready. So we've done a lot of really cool cutting-edge stuff on a budget, on a very limited budget, but we've been creative. We have an amazing team, and that makes me look good every day. And part of the secret sauce of what we've done is we put together a few working groups, which has now been consolidated into one. But at one point in time, it was the Fresh Energy Working Group, which dealt with energy efficiency, renewable energy. Then we had an Environmental Justice Working Group. They were all co-chaired, by the way, by members from our network. And then we had a Faith Working Group, because we realized early on that some of our strongest members were faith leaders, particularly faith leaders of color. All right, so they came on board, and those working groups became consolidated to one so we could get away from silos and get groups to work together. So basically, our network is growing, is expanding. We're looking forward, and we're having conversations around a lot of what I heard today, right? Basically, what do we do with this funding, right? What does that actually look like? And we're trying to figure out what does it actually look like to transform communities, right? What does this just transition look like? How can we get there? And I think convenings like this one, which I've never been to. I've never been in a room with this many government representatives. I had no idea that Helen Chin was that cool. I had no idea that Stephanie has an energy that's contagious, all right? I don't know how the hell you pulled off 4 events in 6 weeks and have this energy. And I was part of the community panel, and I'm just gonna give a shout out to all you community leaders doing everything you do, all right? To be here is an effort, okay, for a lot of people. And I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I wanna invite you to join our network, okay? Let's get to 100, all right? Come with us. If you have any hard questions, ask Amy, she's right there, all right? But come with us. So I'm just gonna close because I really want people to ask questions and for us to get to that cocktail. So I heard a lot about relationships. I heard about moving at the speed of trust, which Dwayne mentioned. Part of our secret sauce in our network, which is a very diverse network in 10 southeastern states with very large organizations to board-led small little tiny groups and everything in between, all right, has been that we have really moved at the speed of trust, okay? You know, I heard this somewhere in another event. Listening, not to respond, but listening to really listen, to hear, okay? We do that in this network, all right? We're really an awesome network. Another thing that I heard a lot was an investment frame, right? And there's a lot of money that's being talked about, $4 trillion. I can't imagine that number, right? But you know what I know always never fails, never ever in my life? When you invest in people, all right? When you invest in people, all right, And you don't just invest and then leave. No, you invest and you invest. And when you invest in communities and you go to a community and you hear out the community, right? And that community needs to design the solutions to their problems. And I've done work internationally. I've done work, in my home country of Argentina, in Mexico, different countries, Dominican Republic. And we've showed up, that's right, we showed up with funding, in a cookie cutter approach. And you're talking about Dominican Republic, comparing that to Puebla, Mexico, to northern Argentina. I mean, nada que ver, right? They have nothing or very little in common, if you will. Or even Durham from, I don't know, Washington, North Carolina. There's very nuanced differences among these communities. So when you say communities, let's define what it is. And that is people in the communities, and it's people in the private sector, in the nonprofit sector, your churches, okay? And not just one religion either, all right? You feel me? So that's community. And your local elected officials too, all right? Let's give some of them some love, all right? And these amazing people here. So with that, I'll be quiet. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Woo. Hi, friends. I'm Genny with a G. That way you'll remember. So super excited to be here. And a special shout out to the artists because you have kept me going. So wherever the artist is, you're doing it, okay? I'm loving it. And if you could get my curly hair in the picture, that'd be great. And the photographer, let's relax with those angles. I need you stand up a little bit so we can get a better angle, but you're doing great. You're doing great. So that's what SEEP is. We're community, y'all. So the Southern Economic Advancement Project started in 2019 as an opportunity to be a bridge between federal government and the South. In the South, we define as 12 southern states, not including Texas. We apologize. But it's just real big. Texas is big, y'all. But also, a shout out to the folks who always say they're from the South and they live in Maryland. I don't get it. I don't get it because y'all want our culture, but y'all don't want our problems. And that, to me, is an issue, okay? So we are very proud to represent 12 southern states. And in 2020, we had a shift, right? We started as a bridge builder. We're going to talk about climate. We're going to talk economic development. We're going to talk about housing. We're going to talk about it all. COVID came, we had a switch. How are we going to band together in collaboration, in community, to build a stronger South? So we created South Strong. You're welcome. And this is a collaboration of over 200 organizations and academics to say we want an equitable South after this pandemic is over. Turns out we're still in it. So we're still working toward a lot. But ARP came about and we were like, we need to get involved in this. So SEEP was really instrumental to say we need toolkits, we need to prepare our local elected officials on how they can get this money and be very clear. This money cannot only go to the police department. Can't do it. We got to make sure it's equitable, that we're saying that we're going to make sure that we're going to protect our communities. In 2023, we continue to do this work, and we've been piloting how most of our communities in this new movement and federal funding opportunities can work, and we're working with our groups in New Orleans. They're doing an incredible job to help shape how we can get our communities, our elected officials, our environments to say this is how we can use this money. And we just got a new team member, Liza, say hello. She literally joined us on Monday of last week, and now we got her here. So really excited to have this work continue to happen in 2024, and wanting to work with you all and working with the folks here on the panel that we're continuously focusing on how can we help. We were started by our founder, Stacey Abrams, who is my best friend. She said it in the book. You can see it. She does say it. And one of the things I've learned from her work and her leadership is how can we help? How can we make sure that we are helping the community at large? And we've done that with all of our community groups. We've done that with Black farmers who were looking to help get support to get some debt relief. And every chance I get, I want to make sure that our Black farmers are centered because they should be getting their debt relief. They should be getting access to affordable connectivity. And y'all, it can't just be connectivity. We need to get devices out. We also need to get technical assistance on how you use those devices. And most importantly, how long does it take to reconnect when there is a hurricane or a storm that comes and that power goes out? My parents did not have internet for 7 days. Let me tell you, my father's 82. He is real upset that he couldn't watch his stories. And I was upset for him because we are all online. And my parents live in a suburb outside of Atlanta. It took them 7 days to be reconnected. We're talking about these bills saying that we're going to go into rural areas in places that it takes a very long time to find service. So you're going to connect us. And then if the power goes out, what are you going to do then? We have to be very clear and we have to be very focused as this work is not easy, that we have to do it in partnership, that we have to do it regionally because as was mentioned before, the South got something to say. It was said in 1995 and it still holds true. What happens in the South will move the country. It happens every single time. And so when we're talking about, that's what I'm saying, get hyped up, get hyped up, get hyped up, because we're about to go to the reception. I can't have you all sleepy, okay? We've been doing too much good work for us to just say, oh, that federal funding's not coming to us. How then can we make it happen? We want to make sure that we are that bridge for y'all. If that means that we're setting up new dashboards to make it happen, if that means Liza and I are going into these communities, we going, okay? We're not an organization that just says, oh, we're regional, and then we don't go. Y'all, I've been to Mississippi 3 times in the last year. I've been to North Carolina. I've been to Kentucky. We were just talking about Kentucky. We're going to these places. We're going to our communities because it's important to talk about it and be about it, but also how can we help get more of that funding to our communities and not just a line item in the budget, but really seeing effective change because this is coming. So we're really excited to be here and be in community with y'all, and I'm going to pass it over to Nat.
I mean, I'm just gonna like pass like a card or something. I feel like I've spent the entire conference just being like full body nodding. So thank you. This is just like a gift to be in a space where my whole neck and like abs hurt from agreeing wholeheartedly. So thank you and all of you. I'm with the Just Transition Fund, and we are really excited to be able to help organize the money. I love that on the be able to give you funds you need to be able to organize the people and the ideas to be able to really access these federal funds. We were founded in 2015 in response and in close partnership with the Appalachian Regional Commission's Power Initiative, which was the first source of federal funding for energy communities. And what we saw then is just what we're seeing now, but on steroids, which is that our communities do not have the capacity to apply for these funds. So yay, we were so excited that there's money there, and yet getting it to the ground was a major challenge. So what we've been doing now for almost a decade and have really scaled up in response to this huge moment is providing capacity grants and technical assistance to help make sure that coal-impacted communities can apply for federal funds. So quick thing, coal-impacted communities, that's a word that I use a lot. It's not always everyone's frame. So that means any county or area that's been impacted or will be impacted by the decline in the coal industry, either through a closure of a plant or a mine. That is indeed Appalachia, but it is also 46 states in the country. It's about 10% of counties in the US have either a coal plant or a mine as of 2016, and that doesn't even account for the economic impact. Certainly doesn't stop at county lines. So it's conservatively 10% of the US is impacted by this, and our mission is really economic diversification and making sure that our communities can thrive when this industry goes away. So we're here to really support communities in applying for any economic development, workforce development, or broadband infrastructure federal funding. We offer rapid response grants up to $100,000 that can fund staff time, people power. It can fund your time to put together all those partnerships that we know are important and take so many hours. It can fund hiring a grant writer. It can fund hiring a coordinator if you need that to put together those partnerships. We're really here to help, again, try to make it possible for you to dream big and go after all these giant dollars. We also offer technical assistance, so if you're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start, I'm doing this amazing work, give us a call. We have consultants. We can help you think about which grants you should prioritize in the next 6 months. We also have a bench of grant reviewers. So hand us your grant drafts and we'll say, oh my gosh, EDA really loves it when you talk about this. We'll help you spin it. All of that is available on a rolling basis, meaning you have a need, please, please, please reach out. We want to hear about it. I was saying in the philanthropy panel, what I think as a previous executive director, what I am most proud of is that these are truly rapid response. We can turn around a grant in 2 weeks, and if you need it in 2 days, we have pulled it off. So we are really here to try to make it happen, organize the money. In addition to whether you have a project and you're ready to apply, that's the rolling rapid response. If you're like, cool, I'm not there. I actually need capacity to even be ready to imagine applying for this federal money at all, whether that's organizational capacity or whether that's, hey, I've got a program that I'm trying, but it's not at the level I can go apply for $5 million yet, and I want to pilot that. That's what we call our early stage work, and we have annual funding cycles for that. So we can give up to $150,000 a year to be used, again, for capacity, whether that's piloting programs, building your organizational capacity to go after federal funds, whatever you need. We try to be really flexible and offer individualized technical assistance. So that's us. Please, please, please reach out. We are just pumped to hear from anyone and everyone. Happy to answer questions after this.
So when we started the conversation this morning, what I committed to you was that you would know how to find the money. What are the 3 websites? Invest.gov, build.gov, and cleanenergy.gov. Okay? Okay. And then we said we will be able to let you know where you find your state's money, which is on bill.gov. We promised that you would have a better sense of the different pools of resources. Do you have a better sense of what may be available to you now in this moment? Are you clear about the opportunities for community-based organizations? Okay. And we said we would actually make sure that you actually know the folks who are doing this work in the region. And you now have 3 key partners. And I want to also uplift SSDM because they actually will also fund direct TA and work with you directly. We'll make sure that the website and resources are made available to you. But these are folks, because the conversation that's been having is, we don't have the resources, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the grant writer, we don't have the tools. So did we honor what we said at the start of this conversation? And this is just day 1. And you have a better sense of who are the agencies who have the resources and what it means to do this work. So I just want to thank you all. I know that we have hit the 5 o'clock time, and we want to really just give you all the space now to connect. But I want to thank you all for staying in the space with us. We covered a lot of information. You will need to really create some time to really explore and get a little bit more understanding of the things that were elevated. But we wanted to just close out where we started, which is that this is a moment. And we get to define how we want to show up. And we can talk about all of the things that have not worked for us. But I just want to be clear that others are organizing right now, today, in this moment, and are building for your community without you. So this is our collective opportunity. I hope that you'll continue to answer the call. See you tomorrow. Thank you.